For global companies with divisions and satellite offices dispersed around the world, the need for virtual teams is a growing trend. Edmondson describes a virtual team as a group of individuals who work across physical and organizational boundaries through the use of technology. Edmondson and Shine state that virtual teams are essential for global companies to integrate geographical expertise such as the regional demand for goods and services, regional labor costs, the location of local resources, and local labor and market regulations. Geographically dispersed virtual teams must confront unique barriers and challenges in addition to those encountered by face-to-face teams. According to Brett et al., there are 4 categories of barriers to a multicultural team's ultimate success: direct versus indirect communication, trouble with accents and fluency, differing attitudes towards hierarchy and authority, and conflicting norms for decision making. Cultural differences alone can be difficult for virtual teams, but when combining cultural differences with time zone challenges, this can make scheduling seem impossible. A lunch meeting for one team member may be a midnight meeting for another. In 2014 article for Proceda Social and Behavioral Sciences, Lillian Snellman states that time zone challenges can hinder productivity and the ability of members to work simultaneously to complete a task, and multicultural virtual teams face additional challenges in cultural values and hierarchical structure. Snellman also states that trust can be a major barrier for virtual teams because members have often incomplete knowledge of one another. In situations like this, it can be difficult for team members to depend on each other and coordinate each team member's expectations and resources. Building trust through the sharing of information and resources is often a challenge for virtual teams because members often think that their knowledge is not worth sharing or that the information is common knowledge. This taken for granted or tacit information can be easily missed in virtual teams because, as Edmondson points out, some things you just have to be on site to know. It can also be difficult for virtual team members to build trust when the organization promotes individual accomplishments above team performance. How an organization defines and rewards success can create another barrier for virtual teams. Coutu states that many organizations have systems in place that are great at guiding, directing, and correcting individual behavior, and systems that are set up to train and develop only the right people. This can make it difficult for people to trust that team members will put the interests of the team above those of their own. Furthermore, Edmondson points out that when team members sense a hierarchy among the team members rather than member equality, it can reduce the willingness of members to speak up, admit mistakes, ask questions, and raise ideas for fear that it will cause harm to their image. The very best practice for virtual teams is to meet face-to-face as often as possible. Coutu states that even well-structured virtual teams should have a launch meeting with everyone present, a face-to-face midpoint check-in, and a live debriefing. If possible, even just on rare occasions, Edmondson suggests physically coming together for a face-to-face meeting because it helps build trust and cultural awareness that needs to be considered during collaboration. Since face-to-face meetings are rare for globally dispersed virtual teams, most team interactions will occur via technology. That said, as we all know, technology can fail at the most inconvenient times or become unavailable when we need it the most. So in their 2001 empirical study on the best practices in virtual teams, Laurie and Razinghani recommend that organizations equip team members with the skills and resources that will allow them to succeed in the virtual world. Even when the technology works perfectly, for virtual teams in different time zones, with members that speak different languages, finding time to share information and collaborate through live video chats or conference calls can be difficult. Virtual teams must establish guidelines for how often and when they will communicate. To facilitate knowledge sharing, team members in different locations, Edmondson suggests that virtual teams have a common place where team members can post problems they may be having and find solutions that have worked for other members that have encountered similar problems. Edmondson states that research indicates virtual teams that regularly utilize their established knowledge repositories to share files and work collaboratively on documents and projects outperform virtual teams that do not in both quality and efficiency. To enhance communication in virtual forums and video or conference calls, team members can try injecting a little tasteful humor. Eisenhart, Kawaji, and Bourgeois state in their 2013 article, How Management Teams Can Have a Good Fight, that humor relieves tension and promotes collaborative spirit within a team, which increases tactfulness, effective listening, and creativity. Furthermore, in his 2017 article, Building High Performance Teams, Seth Modahaven states that when teams are in happier moods, they are better communicators and they are more likely to share information and seek assistance and feedback when necessary. Another best practice to increase the likelihood of team effectiveness is to ensure that organizational structure supports teamwork and not individualism. Coutu states that for a team to be effective, the design of the organization, such as the reward system, the human resources department, and the information systems, must facilitate teamwork. An authoritative structure that promotes the work of individuals and dismisses the ideas of others significantly hinders team effectiveness. Rather than leadership authority that can stifle the ideas of others, Edmondson states that leadership inclusiveness, where higher status team members actively invite and express appreciation for the views and ideas of others, is best practice for team collaboration. And Laurie and Rasinghani state that when leaders empower team members to make critical decisions, it allows them to identify problems and work towards solutions.